Now, this is really... when I first heard of this story, I was a bit like, OK, this is one of them stories, but there is actually more deeper stuff to this story, and we'll get to that in a minute. But you and Ben, you've been together 12 years.
Yes.
You're about to celebrate your 10th wedding anniversary, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And it was actually one of your friends that suggested to you that maybe a counsellor once a year could help anyone out.
Yeah, well, she put it to me exactly like I put it in the article. We have to MOT our cars. Most of us go and see the dentist preventatively. So why don't, you know, we transfer that to our marriages? Because it's arguably one of the most important relationships of our lives. And much better to predict problems and overcome them before they become massive and then much bigger deal to overcome.
So what was your view on the marriage MOT, as you put it, before you and Ben went down that route?
Well, I think we both thought it was a great idea, but we just never got round to it. So life is busy and we kept on thinking we should do it. There's also a bit of a stigma, I think, in the UK about therapy and the idea that maybe you only have therapy unless, you know, if your marriage is an absolute crisis, and ours definitely wasn't, but we still felt it was a really, really good idea.
Yeah, because the interesting thing is that when you got married, you say that you and Ben had never had an argument.
No, neither of us really are that argumentative, but actually an argument and discussion is a really important part of any relationship.
Yeah, well, we can agree with that one.
This is what I don't understand, because like you said, you've rarely argued, it never happens to you. Why take that route then? Even if you know it's there, you obviously didn't think that you needed it.
No, but I think that you're not going to not argue. I don't think any relationship is realistic without some kind of discussion, and it's how that takes place. So we were finding that, you know, when we argued, it wasn't great because we were really bad at arguing. We'd end up being really hurt, and I'd literally take a week to recover from it emotionally, and that's no good either. I think you need to learn to communicate, and I think that's at the heart of it, is just learning to communicate with each other and communicating constructively, as opposed to maybe at the end of the day when you're exhausted and distracted and maybe a bit drunk. You know, that's often when the arguments happen, and then you say things that maybe aren't meant to be taken like the way they were, and that's when it starts to self-destruct.
What did Ben say when you suggested this to him?
I think he was totally up for it. He was totally up for it. We didn't get to the stage where we were like, right, we need to go and see a marriage counsellor now. As it happened, we had a little boy who was stillborn nearly 2 years ago, and after that happened, after he died, we saw a grief counsellor, just a sort of general counsellor, and that really helped us with a sort of understanding what had happened to us and contextualising and understanding our grief. And, you know, but you don't just stick to what you're talking to. You know, we ended up learning a lot about each other in the process, and ended up talking together and separately about our relationship, and I feel that it sort of morphed into sort of marriage counselling, everything counselling, I guess, and it just made me realise actually it does work. It's fantastic, and more people should be doing it before
prevention rather.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So what have you and Ben taken most out of your sessions with your therapist?
I think that it's, you know, often when you disagree about something, it's not that you see things from two totally different angles. It means that, you know, maybe someone is feeling a certain way because of something else that's happening. And if you talk to someone who understands a bit more than most of us do about how our minds work and how we might exhibit our emotions, I think it can keep it more constructive as opposed to destructive. Rather than, you know, I quite find often with an argument it's yes, no, and you're not going anywhere. Whereas if you can get someone to say, listen, let's think out of the box here. Why might he be thinking yes, and why might you be thinking no? You're much more likely to come to a resolution as opposed to just fight.
Because this is the point that I think we have, because we do argue, and it doesn't really worry me that we argue, because I think we're both very passionate people, so the problem we have, though, is that sometimes he can't understand why...
Do you realise Marina's not the counsellor?
No, well, here we go. We might...
I'm just putting that out there.
take that up next. But